Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Trocon sent me a note that says, Steve, check out the story out of California. And I've talked a lot about traffic tickets, but quite often what I'm talking about is moving violations, where you're driving along and you're doing something wrong, like maybe going too fast, or you run a red light, or roll through a stop sign, or do something improper while your vehicle's moving. And so, moving violation. Now, we've also talked about parking tickets, where you park improperly or too long at a spot. But I don't know if I've ever spoken about the old fix-it tickets. Fix-it tickets. And that's the nickname for a ticket that says, well, there's something wrong with your car, and we don't like it. We require you to fix it, and therefore you have to go fix it to get rid of the ticket. But you usually have to pay some money. And it's a pain depending on what they've said is wrong with your vehicle. So let's suppose you're driving down the road one day and one of your headlights is out. A police officer in a bad mood could pull you over and say, you've got a headlight out, and I'm going to write you a ticket for that. And so you've got to actually bring your vehicle someplace and have somebody look at it and go, oh, the headlight's been fixed. There you go. And so it can be a pain, and it also depends on what the ticket is for. Now, we've had some recent stories, and I've not done a video yet about the guy who got in trouble for his stock exhaust being too loud. We'll get to that. But right now we're talking about a bit of a controversy out of California from abc7.com. 27 people arrested in fix-it ticket scheme tied to illegal street racing, and the accused ringleader has been charged. So this is all about the California Highway Patrol. A Southern California street racing promoter allegedly ran a ticket-fixing scheme that got hundreds of citations for vehicle violations dismissed. And that's according to the California Highway Patrol. Jessica DeNova wrote this for ABC7, by the way. And of course, when we're talking about street racing, it makes you wonder if these aren't some fix-it tickets tied to things where people have modified their cars to street race. And that can always be an issue. So occasionally you'll hear about people who've hopped their cars up, and an officer comes by and goes, hey, I think your car's too loud, for instance. Or there can be all kinds of other things that you can be doing. So authorities say that a person forged stamps and signatures of law enforcement officers, some of whom were retired, and they were using those to clear citations for illegal modifications and smog check violations, among others. And that's another issue. Michigan did, for a brief period of time, have tailpipe emissions checked, and you had to do that in the Tri-County area. I think it was only the three counties did it: Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, southeast corner of the state where Detroit's located. But you bring your vehicle into a place that's certified to do this, and you run your car, and they stick a thing up the tailpipe, and they're measuring the emissions. And the emissions have got to be below certain levels, and they give you the thing, and there you go. Your car is now illegal. And you take that when you go and get your tags and so on. So the question is, if your vehicle failed a smog check, how do you then get it to pass the smog check? Well, theoretically, you'd have it repaired, and whatever was causing it to spit out those pollutants, you'd fix. Now, I know people in California. I went to law school in California, and I know that it's a very, very poorly kept secret that anybody who wants to can get a ticket saying that their vehicle passed a smog check. And there are places that you can go to if you know the guy or gal who runs it, and you can say, hey, look, this thing ain't going to pass in a million years. This thing's going to fail. You might not want this vehicle running near your facility. It might hurt people, okay? It's that bad. And you flip them a couple bucks and go, here, there you go. You passed. So that's something that's been a problem for a while. But when they catch somebody doing it, of course, those people get in trouble. But here, somebody appears to have gone the other route, which is forging documents to indicate that these things have been fixed. So conversations on social media released by law enforcement show that this one particular person was charging $300 to get the tickets cleared. And you might say, Steve, would they spend that much money? Yes, because what they are doing here is they don't want to change the car. They don't want to fix the car. If they've done something to the car to make it go faster and it causes it to not pass the smog check, well, they don't want to undo that stuff. They just want it to pass the smog check. And if you can do that with a forged document for $300, that's probably cheaper financially than undoing what you did to the car. The downside, of course, is you're doing something illegal. So the man was arrested and charged in Orange County with nearly 36 felonies. 36 felonies. What they were doing was procuring false legal stamps and having them made. says Captain Gil Campa with the CHP, basically falsifying officers' signatures in the back of citations. They would take that citation to a law enforcement office to show it was corrected, and it was processed at that point through the court system. Now investigators have identified and arrested 27 drivers accused of using this man's services. And there's your other problem, is that the guy who's selling the stamps is obviously breaking the law. People using those services, assuming they know what's going on, they're also breaking the law. Question is if they can make some kind of argument, go, I thought that guy was a cop. Investigators of the California Highway Patrol say more than 250 tickets issued during street racing operations in Los Angeles and Orange County were illegally cleared by the street racing promoter. So they've arrested 27 drivers. They've arrested the guy who's running the scheme. But they say that they have evidence that 250 tickets were cleared this way. And if that's true, there might be more people out there who might get in trouble. As to whether actual members of law enforcement investigation helped out with the scheme, the CHP says they're still investigating that. And there's two things to think about. One of them is, I know people who've gotten fix-it tickets for some very strange things. And a friend of mine got a fix-it ticket because he was speeding on a motorcycle. So he's driving along on a motorcycle. Cop hits him with the gun, radar gun, and he pulls over. No, I pulled you over? No, I have no idea. You were speeding. And my friend goes, got a little bit of a problem. Cable on my speedometer is broken. And by the way, it actually was. Now, whether you should be driving around with a broken speedometer cable, that's another story altogether. But the cable was broken. And the police officer actually said, really? Okay, tell you what. Instead of a speeding ticket, I'll give you a fix-it ticket. Get the speedo cable fixed. Friend goes, oh, I'll take that. Obviously, non-moving violation. So gets the fix-it ticket, goes to the shop, buys a new speedo cable, installs it himself, and then takes his bike up to the police station and says, I've got the fix-it ticket and I've fixed my bike. Now, I remember asking my friend going, how did they confirm it was fixed? And he goes, they didn't. He goes, I showed them the receipt and they just, okay. And they believed him. Now, what else are they going to do? I mean, have somebody go take the bike out for a ride? I don't know if I'd want that to happen. But that is something that, it resolved itself that way. And so the fix-it tickets are weird in that sense, but a police officer can almost always find something to write if they want to. But I don't know, what all is involved financially if they make much money off the fix-it tickets. I know some places there's a fee of some sort, but there are not points associated with it because it's not a moving violation. The other issue here is that some people, when they watch the legal system closely, and attorneys know this obviously because we're in court all the time, and you realize that a lot of what's happening in court is just paperwork. It's just paperwork. And so a judgment, if you get a judgment against somebody, it's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper with words printed on it that was, spit out of a laser printer. And it says things on it like this person owes this person $19 million. And then it's been hit with a couple stamps. A judge's signature maybe, a clerk's signature maybe, and possibly even an embossed clumper thing, the raised impression of the seal on it. It's still just a piece of paper. And so we hear stories about people who realize that while there's people in the courts, and there's police officers and judges and lawyers, it's this paper moving around that causes things to happen. And so I've heard stories, for instance, where somebody got out of jail because a friend on the outside created the paperwork to look like the person should be released, and somebody dressed up and walked into the court or walked into the jail looking like an official person going, here, paperwork, you can release that person, court order. And the person gets released. And later on, somebody goes, that's not real. It's a fake court order. And so likewise, somebody figured out with the fix-it tickets that they're not actually going to check the car. I mean, somebody's supposed to check the car. The fix-it ticket is with the court system now. It's not with the police department anymore. So the fix-it ticket gets filled out and sent to the court. And so somebody has got to simply address that later. And it gets addressed by another piece of paper showing up. It's been taken care of. And so somebody figured out that, all I need to do is get that piece of paper. I don't need to go through all the trouble of getting one through proper channels. I can simply do whatever's necessary, and then they go, what does that piece of paper look like? Well, it turns out the piece of paper has to do with proper signature, which can be forged, and then having a legal stamp. And again, rubber stamps aren't exactly, impossible to come by. And so you basically take the ticket, and where it says someone's going to check it, forge a signature, fake stamp, turn it in. Boom, there you go. And so somebody figured that out. So unfortunately, now that that's been done, they're going to have to dial it up a little bit with respect to how they view these things and how they approach it. But right now, if I was a street racer in California and I had used the services of this one person to get my fix-it ticket taken care of, I might be a little worried because that's bad. Now, of course, the guy who ran the ring is in worse trouble. And you can imagine right about now that if you had a modification done to your car that cost a ton of money and made it so it wouldn't, for instance, pass a smog check or it wasn't quiet enough or whatever, and that fix-it ticket that was taken care of is back in full force again, now you can bet they're going to say, oh, no, we're not going to trust a signature this time. Bring your car in and show it to us. So there's some people right now in a tough situation, I think, who are going to be forced to undo their cars and try to bring them back to the initial street legal they were before they modified them. And if that happens, that can be a lot of pain in the rear end. So Jessica DeNova wrote this for ABC7.com. Trocon sent it. Thanks a lot. 27 arrested in fix-it ticket scheme tied to illegal street racing, and the accused ringleader has been charged. And there could be another 200 or so people out there who could get swept up into this. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Character is a result of two things: mental attitude and the way we spend our time.